Earful Tower listeners, it's another Monday in Paris, and I am your host, Lina Nordinji. You're listening to the Earful Tower, and today's guest is a bit of a different one. He's a podcaster turned author. Welcome to the studio, Oliver G.
Well, thank you very much. That was a very nice intro.
It feels weird sitting in your spot.
Well, that'll make for a weird episode, but that's all right. It's kind of different times. But we should play the jingle.
We should.
We should also just say...
Here goes.
I should. All right, go on. You can do it.
Jingle bell,
Not that one. We'll play the real jingle, but first, this show is brought to you by French Today. If you want to get a 10%, and I should say a further 10% discount on all their audiobooks for learning French, frenchtoday.com/earful12 for the 12th month of the year. More about them at the end of the episode, but yes, let's play that jingle. All right, Lina, over to you.
Thank you, Oliver. So, well, rumor has it you have written a book.
Yes.
What do you have to say for yourself?
I think maybe I'll explain a little what's going on.
I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah. So
go for it.
So yeah, what's happened is, as I think most of you guys who listen to this show regularly will know by now, is I've written a book about my time in Paris. It's kind of, I'm saying it's a laugh out loud memoir.
Not just you. I'm saying it's a laugh out loud.
You said it was laugh so loud the tea came out through your nose.
Yeah. I wish you hadn't repeated that on public national radio.
I like it. It's the only good review so far. No, but what the thing is I've written this book and I've been talking about it a lot on social media and stuff, and I wanted to talk about it on this very episode today, but I didn't just want to sit here in the studio by myself. Lina would make the perfect interviewer, I thought.
Yeah.
Because you've been along...
What do you call it? I'm a bollplank in Swedish.
Yeah, like a soundboard.
That's it.
Yeah, so what we've done is people have sent in via her social media, at Parisian Postcards. I've been watching a lot of those Boston movies. And people are sending her questions. She got a few questions, and I'm also going to tell you some of the things I kind of want to share with you about this project. And the reason that I'm talking to you about it today, on Monday, the 9th of December, is because... the Kickstarter campaign launches on Wednesday, the 11th of December. More on that at the end, but that's how I'm going to fund the initial print run of the book. But what I figured we'd talk about is just a little about what this book is, and then maybe we can get into some of those questions from people.
Definitely, I have a whole bunch.
Excellent, excellent. So the idea of this book is I think, especially if you're listening to this right now, you know that I've got a podcast. And you know that, I've turned it into a job, a career, from a hobby to a job. And everyone knows that, but there's been a kind of a pretty fun and crazy life involved behind the scenes for the past 5 years that I've been in Paris. 5 years almost exactly.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks it will be.
Yeah, so yeah.
That went so quickly. How crazy. Wow.
And incidentally, once you've been here for 5 years, you can apply to become French.
Mais oui.
Mais oui. So there's a whole story in itself. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of things that I don't talk about on this show. Often I spend the time interviewing someone else about their book or their project.
Yeah, maybe people don't actually know you at all.
Well, a lot of people don't know, why I came here and all that kind of stuff. But mostly, the story, the way I'm going to explain the story is that it's mostly one of these kind of, I think everyone can understand and relate the outrageous struggles of moving to a foreign country, especially one like France, where there's so many rules in place, of which I seem to break all of them on repeat.
New language,
things like landlords and
social
architects.
Codes.
Oh, yeah, all of them. And you guys know me a little bit now, I think. You know that I'm the kind of guy who puts his foot in the wrong place a lot. So the story is kind of a story of how I came here, went through all that, and got to where I am today. The point of it is it's fun, it's funny, it's entertaining, and I think you're going to like it.
I think you're going to love it. I did. I definitely did.
You come out quite well in it.
Yeah.
The editor messaged me and said, you know what he said at the end of it? He said, people who read this book are going to think two things. They're going to want a red scooter in their life and a Lina. That's what he said.
Is he comparing me to a scooter?
You do come out
a form of transportation.
You do come out pretty well.
No, but that's very sweet.
But anyway, I think you guys are really going to like it. If you even remotely like this podcast, you like that book. But more on that in a second, I think. But just a bit of behind the scenes first. The book took, it actually took ages. I have like a new respect for anyone who's written a book or anyone who...
Or in the process of writing one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did it a little bit different. A lot of people who write books sort of tell everyone from the beginning, I'm going to write a book.
I'm writing a book. I've been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah. And I didn't want to do it because I wanted to focus on everything else and see if I did do it. And now it's done and it's edited and it's ready to be sent to the printers. So I think it's time to start talking about it.
I think so. This is the perfect time.
So I think...
should we go ahead with... Should I go with some questions?
Yeah,
or
go on.
do you
want
to tell us a little bit more about the book?
Well, maybe,
what it's about?
I think you
kind of did that,
I think I'll say one thing, that the most common question that's come in, or the most common sort of statement question that's come in is everyone's saying, where did you find the time? I keep saying that. And it's true, this podcast takes up all of my time, especially my thinking time. Or you know what a lot of people don't realize about this podcast? Chasing up people to get on the show can take forever. And it drives me mad sometimes.
I've seen you.
I'm not going to name names, but for next season, I've had some of the biggest institutions in this city running me around the clock, only to say no in the end, because they weren't confident about their English speaking abilities.
That is ridiculous.
I'm not going to name who it is, but it's a company that should have an English speaker. But anyway, I spent a lot of time chasing that kind of stuff up. But in terms of writing the book, I think, whenever I had a couple hours in front of me, like on a plane, or when I had just nothing to do. Or
when we went to Sweden for a little work trip.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, I'd hole up in a cafe for like 6 hours and just write. And that was how I did it. A lot of people say write 1,000 words a day or something. I never did it like that.
No.
I did like a sort of 6 hour
Well,
retreat.
I feel like this is really leading into some of the questions. So maybe should I go for it?
Yes,
what do you think?
Take over.
Okay, so we have a few interesting ones. So here was Annabelle is wondering.
Hello, Annabelle.
Hello, Annabelle. What was the hardest bit to write, or the easiest? What were you most looking forward to writing about? Do you have an answer to that one?
You know what?
Pretty good one.
Yeah, good question, Annabelle. I don't have an answer to it. I think the hardest thing to do was to write the end for a book like this because the story's still going.
Yeah.
You know? So
I actually, well, maybe you don't want to say this, but I know that you changed it.
I did change the end. Yeah, because the story keeps getting more interesting.
Yeah, you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
No, this is really, this is much cooler. Oh, this is cooler.
Also,
okay.
Yeah. Like, and the risk is, as long as I'm living in France and living this life, then the story doesn't end until I die or move.
Yeah, so better just get it out
so
there.
I picked a good sort of finale.
I think the ending is really good.
I think people
it's
will like.
Fitting end.
And the easiest part to write, I don't know, maybe.
Could it be one of these stories that you've been telling?
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Like, just
thank
telling
you.
in social groups.
You're a good host. That's true. There's a bunch of stories I've got of some of the weird things that we've been through in Paris. Like, I don't know about everyone else in the world, but I've got maybe, 20 or 30 stories.
Little party stories?
Yeah, little party stories that I tell depending on the company that we're in. And there are a lot of those kind of stories. Like, so, I don't know, like when I had a birthday party and we rented a chateau. And it was pretty wild, like that's a little story. Or how, getting the scooter is a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
All the details behind that.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Another one.
Read and you'll see, guys. Read and you'll see.
Those kind of things that things that I've told a lot, or maybe I've told on the show. Like for example,
but just a bit more in depth.
Some of the episodes from the show are in the book as well. So like the crocodile story, one of my favorite stories.
Yeah.
There's bits about that. Or when my brother came to Paris, the story of when I first came to Paris, that was fun to write.
It was fun to read.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Well, I also noticed that you lately, the past couple of months, you have been testing some of the stories.
Yeah, I know.
Some of the chapters or some of the topics.
It must have been pretty annoying for you.
No, it's been really funny and interesting. And you kind of testing the reaction.
Yeah, I think a lot of authors do that because I've had so many authors on this show now. Some of whom have been very kind to read the book and or write, the bits on the back of the book.
Yeah.
They go, Oliver is in.
What do you call that? Blurb?
I guess, a blurb?
Blurb?
I think you guys are going to love the blurbs. There's some funny ones in there.
There's some quite imaginative ones.
I think I'm going to try and get more because they're good. There's some that left me with a raised eyebrow as well. But what we say, I practiced them. When I'd written them, when we were out for a glass of wine with friends or something, I was like, if I ever told you the story of when
Some of them you kind of you quoted almost word for word. It was really good.
Yeah, it's interesting writing out a collection of autobiographical stories.
I would call the book a collection of short stories that go together.
Yeah, right.
With like a red line running through them, which is you.
Well, that's what it is. There's lots of short chapters. You know, another question? Did anyone ask about audiobook?
Not on this page.
Okay, I might just ask myself.
I have a lot of questions here, so
okay,
I might
let's go
get
through some of yours. But good news for audiobook fans.
Yes, so we have Kobe is wondering, will we be able to buy Oliver's book in Cape Town, South Africa? I can't do the accent, I'm sorry.
Shall I do it?
Yeah, please.
Hi, it's Kobe. Kobe here. Just wondering if I can, if we'll be able to buy the book in Cape Town, South Africa. Nah, I don't know. The answer. So what I'm doing, one thing we haven't talked about yet is on the advice of so many of the authors I've had on the show. In fact, John Baxter and David Downey especially were very adamant that a project like this should be self-published. In fact, David Downey sent me an email with one of the best quotes in it. He said, if I had the mettle, the moxie, and the gumption that you do, I would self-publish this book.
I just love that.
I love it. Moxie.
But also metal, what does that mean?
I don't know. I never know what.
It could be a typo. We don't even know, but it sounds amazing.
It all goes together, you know. If you got that, there's a lot of energy involved in it.
Gumption.
But the idea is, what I'm going to do is, well, it all depends on this Kickstarter and if it works, which I'm hoping it will. But if it funds, then that 100% goes into the initial print run.
Yeah.
And there's this company that I'm working with. They print out the book. They do all the details that you can imagine comes with printing a book, ISBN numbers, all that kind of formatting and stuff, putting it into an ebook. And then, because it's got this number, ISBN number it's called, you'll be able to order it in Cape Town. You can be able to go into your local bookshop and say, hey, I want it. Or even better, Kobe, is for the Kickstarter launch, buy it directly and I'll get it shipped to you, you know? Because if you just wait and hang around...
There might not be a book.
Well, the book might not succeed. And then I'll look like I'll probably delete this episode. But anyway, it'll ship everywhere, including Cape Town, where I'd love to go one day.
Yeah, me too.
Cool to have a listener in Cape Town.
Hello, Cape Town.
Yes.
All right. So we have another question.
Sure.
From Lindsay.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, that's a hard question. That's like a job interview question.
Yes, and it's like, how many golf balls fit into a jumbo jet?
That hasn't got really anything to do with the book, but I'll answer it. In 5 years, well, based on the trajectory of this, everything I've been doing the past couple years, if I stick with it, I hope it to be 5 times bigger. So I don't know how a podcast gets 5 times bigger, but I assume it becomes more about the things that I do on the side, like writing books, maybe something to do with tours in around Paris, maybe adding additional cities. That's if it grows.
It's good to have a vision.
Yeah, I got a kind of a vision, but in terms of the book, 5 years, in terms of anything, I don't think 5 years ahead.
No. You didn't when you moved here 5 years ago.
5 years ago, yeah. No, if you had asked me that same question, Lindsay, 5 years ago, I would never have been able to predict where I'm at now, and I'm really glad it worked out the way it did, because I came for a whole different job, which you'll see in the book, I guess.
Yeah.
But if I was thinking 5 years ahead in that job, I don't think I'd be so happy to be still doing that when I've got this wonderful project and this job and listeners like you, Lindsay. Yeah. So let's not plan it all out. Let's see where it goes.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Good and vague, like a politician.
Diplomatic.
Yeah, very. And Bridget is wondering, any advice for people wanting to publish a book? How hard was the process?
So my intention with this book was always to get it published traditionally because I didn't want to do the work involved with self-publishing. It's a lot of work. I know this now. But also people like David Downey told me that you can send a book in and it gets rejected by publishers 500,000 times. And then when they finally take it, they can change it a lot. It's not yours anymore. What I've done with this podcast is I've grown an audience of people like Bridget, people like Lindsay and Kobe. I've grown an audience. I want to connect directly to these kind of people, to people that listen to the show. I want to make a book. I want to work together with them to make it, public and published. And then I want to give it to them. So doing it my own way makes sense as well. Like it's kind of a team job People support it, just like how I've made a job out of it. People sign up on Patreon, and then we've all got a show.
Yeah.
So I think
it's kind of like a joint project.
For sure. And I like it like that's a community. Like I love all that kind of stuff, people working together to make something happen. But Bridget, I don't know if you've got a podcast with a community, but if you don't, I think self-publishing can be really difficult. And if you've written an excellent book, definitely go the traditional way. Hey, I'm no expert. I still haven't published anything. But I tell you what, either way that you go, it's going to be difficult. But there are some companies that'll help you self-publish if you just want to do it for your friends or anything like that.
Well, that's good. That's nice.
Thanks, Bridget.
Good one.
This is fun.
Yes, Cindy is wondering, what has made moving to France worth the trouble?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I might steal that and ask
That's
other
a really
people.
good one.
What's made it worth it? Because there's definitely trouble.
There is.
There's definitely trouble.
It's not easy.
In chapter 2 in the book, you guys had a lot of trouble with some recalcitrant bankers who was taking all my money, and I didn't know how to fix it. But there are a lot of troubles like that, a lot of admin troubles and difficulties. But what's made it worth? That's kind of easy, to be honest. Everything. Look at what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're sitting in a studio, me and you, talking to I don't even know how many people.
Lots of ears.
And it's my job. Imagine that.
It is. And here we are in a little cute, cozy studio in central Paris, rain pitter-patting on the window.
Yeah. Hey, you should write a book.
I might.
No, it's easy. I say it. I'm very, Lina can attest to this. I'm hugely grateful about being able to live in Paris. I say it all the time.
Literally every day.
Oh, man.
You wake up and say, I feel so lucky.
I do, honestly.
Then I feel so hungry.
Yeah. And they go together.
Those are the two things.
But I love it. I love, firstly, I love that I've got a very fortunate life. But also, I love the country for things like, I love the food or the cafe culture or the art and the museums and the beauty of the streets. I walk around all the time just saying we're so lucky to live here. So everything makes it worthwhile. The difficulties honestly aren't that bad.
No.
And I think I think I wrote it in the book as well about, and I've definitely said it on the show, but my strategy with dealing with bureaucratic nightmares and stuff is you just go in and you think, this isn't going to work. You just go in, you go, I've got all the papers. Like if you need to open a bank account or if you need to get your citizenship, you walk in there. This is what I do. I go, this isn't going to work. I know it's not going to work.
So go in with very low expectations.
I go in defeated. And,
from the start.
Yeah, and then they look at it and they go, oh, yeah, you don't have the paper. And I just go, ha!
But of course.
I knew that, and I don't care.
So I'm not disappointed.
Honestly, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Because everybody...
It's quite a good strategy.
Everyone seems to get so disappointed. I'm like, how have you not learned this already?
Waste of time to get disappointed all the time.
You just be always disappointed.
Well, Cindy has another question, actually.
Okay.
Cindy wonders now, how did he find himself going to Sweden? Will the event of you guys meeting be in the book?
What's Cindy's last name?
Owens.
Cindy Owens. Hello.
That was a different Cindy. The other one was Cindy Green.
Hello, Cindy Green. Cindy Green, who I've met.
Cindy's.
Cindy Owens. What was it? Why'd you go to Sweden?
Yeah.
Nah, that's for another book, I think.
Yeah.
There's the story of how Lina and I met is pretty normal. We met at a party.
Yeah.
But the interesting story, the romantic story, is we sort of got together in Paris, and it's a very romantic city to start a relationship.
It is.
I'll tell you
Especially
why, in
when
case
you're
you didn't
new.
know. I'll tell you why. No, I thought about this a lot, and I wrote about it too. Is when you come to Paris with a lot of people come here with a French husband or wife or whatever, and that's cool. And they go, you're walking down the street, and if you said to them, I've never done this with a French woman.
Jean-Michel.
Yeah, but if you said to them, you said, hey, let's go down that street. They go, no, don't go down that street. It's horrible. The restaurants are terrible. Or if you say, why don't we explore the right bank tonight? They go, oh, never on a Tuesday or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas you and I
we're like,
had no idea about anything.
Yeah.
Right down to like if you're going to buy, I don't know, some milk in the supermarket, you don't know which one to get.
Literally, I have no idea.
No,
Don't even
no
know
idea.
the word for milk.
So it's quite romantic, just getting everything
It
wrong.
definitely was an adventure.
Accidentally going into
still.
very, very, very expensive places.
For a casual cocktail.
Things like, a lot of stories like that. And that's, I think, is the romantic part of the story, is how falling in love in the city of love. There's nowhere else I'd rather do it. Also, being two fish out of water is a pretty...
it makes you feel maybe even more of a team in a way.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe.
Sure.
It's hard to compare.
Yeah, well, true.
Because every story is different.
It's all in the book, Lina. You'll have to buy it. What else have we got? And then just so you know, after that, I'm going to explain a little bit about the Kickstarter and how that's going to work. And then maybe me and you can have a little chat too.
Sure.
Because we probably only got about 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
Yep.
Clarky boy,
John Clark, on the show, Patreon supporter, friend of mine too.
He has written a lot of questions, and I'm not going to give them all,
John,
Clarky boy.
Go on, John, do the best one.
Okay.
He'll be listening too, so pick a good one.
Well, no, he wonders, is the book actually about me?
Oh, God.
No. Okay, that's no answer for that one.
We should put the kibosh on that guy.
Yeah, maybe. But he gets another shot.
Okay, go
just
on.
because he's Clarky boy.
You're not mentioning the book, John.
What was your process for outlining the book? Interesting.
Yeah, right.
Or you can choose, did you develop any writing rituals?
The writing rituals is easy. I call them writing retreats because I heard someone went and rented like a house in Normandy and sat in the snow and wrote it. I thought that was like the most romantic thing ever.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do it. I never did it.
Yeah.
But I called it a writing retreat.
No, you call it an RR.
Yeah, which is a bit of a worry for people about to buy the book because I know writing begins with a W. But it sounds like
You know what? During these 2 years, I never even thought about that.
I'd say to Lina, I'm going to do an RR.
No.
Writing retreat for 2 years, by the way. Yeah, that's how long I've been working on this. Look, there go the bells. For anyone that didn't watch
Romantic.
that long walk I did, I don't know if you saw this thing. I walked from one side of Paris to the other, and when we passed this very church, the bells went crazy. And there was someone, and it might have been Cindy Owens actually.
Cindy Owens.
Who was, she was ecstatic to hear them. They were just going crazy, kind of like they are now. Anyway, so ritual was just when you're going to write, sit down and write properly, not do a 15-minute thing.
Yeah.
But in terms of outlining, it was a very linear story. I moved here 5 years ago, and I'm still here 5 years later. And everything built up towards the end.
Yeah.
So I sort of divided it into chapters. You know, like each chapter is more or less 6 months.
Yeah.
It was quite easy to do, and everything kind of builds up. And I'd say there's about, I don't know, 6 to 10 storylines that go through all the chapters, you know? So stories I told on the show before, like...
Get tied together at the end.
For sure. Yeah, literally. Mm-hmm. Yeah, literally tied together. Yes, like a Houdini trick in the book. But yeah, I planned it out pretty well. But it's kind of like how your life goes when you move to a country. Like for things like, you don't know anyone, then you have to meet them, then you become friends with them, and then they're at your wedding, and then and
the rest is history.
Yeah. So there you go, John. Good question.
Very good question.
Sounds like a man who's thought about writing a book before. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see about that one. On an easier note,
Sure.
Slightly lighter, favorite touristy spot in Paris?
Favorite touristy spot in Paris?
From Casey Cohen.
Casey. Mm-hmm. I love Montmartre, and I've done a few posts. Do you see the black and white pictures I did the other day from up there?
Oh, I did.
I love going into a really touristy, for two times. I love a really touristy spot like Montmartre in the middle of when it's packed with tourists. Because, and I know I've said this before, but people are so happy. You see people who are up there and they're like, even though, like, sometimes you look at them and you go, look at you wearing a beret and eating a crepe and buying a picture of the Eiffel Tower. No one does that. But then sometimes I go, look how happy they are.
So happy.
To be walking here.
Yeah.
How can you not be happy living?
It could be a rainy, terrible day and they have it beaming.
For sure. I love it. It always makes me happy to see
too.
happy tourists. You know what I don't like seeing? The tourist traps, like that white train that goes around Montmartre, right? You know, the tourist train. I watch that every time it goes past. I swear to you, and I live in Montmartre, I've never seen a happy person on it.
No, it's the most miserable train
I stop. It might be annoying for you. I'm always like, I'm going to see if anyone's happy on there. Whereas the bateau mouche, the boats that go along the Seine, always happy.
Ecstatic.
I wave to them.
Yeah.
I wave to the bateau mouches so they think Parisians are all really happy people. And there's always people that wave back. But I would wager if you wave to that train, no one would care.
No, they chuck their mocha frappuccino in your face.
The other time that I like to go in places like Place du Tertre and up in Montmartre is dead of the night, like midnight. When
big contrast.
Yeah, when it's empty and it's beautiful and it looks like it would have looked 80, 100 years ago.
I agree with that. Yeah, exactly.
Makes for some great pictures.
Yeah,
black
it
and
feels
white.
like you could be in any sort of time.
And there's often people shooting movies and stuff up there. So the secret's
Quite a
out.
magical place.
Have we got one more? Should we do one more?
We have one more, but this one there are plenty more. Let's see.
Maybe we'll finish on a good one.
How long did it take him, well, you, to learn to speak French? Can you make the R sound?
I don't know. I always say I speak French like an Australian cow, which...
Moo?
You would do a raise at the end of the sentence.
Yeah.
Moo?
Moo?
I don't know. How long did it take me to learn French? My French is pretty good now, good enough to get by with. It's definitely not perfect. How long did it take to learn? I don't know. I'm still learning it now.
I remember when we first came here and you were like, I swear in 1 month, I'll just pick it back up again.
So confident.
Yeah. So I'll just pick it back up again.
I studied French at school and university a bit too. And then I moved to Sweden and learned Swedish. Fluent Swedish.
Amazing Swedish.
Yeah. I still speak better Swedish than French. And then when I moved back to France...
You speak better Swedish than English.
Did I say that? Oh, no, you said that.
No,
don't be silly.
I'm joking.
But when I moved here to France, for the first time when I moved here, I was like, I forgot every single word of French. And I thought it would come back, and it absolutely didn't. And I studied lots. And then I befriended Camille from French Today, which I'll talk about again in a sec. Did her audiobooks. I don't know. I think, and living here helps a lot. Talking to people, like in my local cafes, I always chat to them and,
friendly people.
Chatting beyond just what coffee do you like. I was in one of my local coffee shops yesterday and they follow along on, they listen to the podcast. It's pretty cool. They're all French. They listen to it. They're like, oh my God, how can we promote the book when it comes out? Can we sell it here?
Amazing.
So nice. But yeah, it takes a while. Go get a French Today book is the easiest way to answer that. FrenchToday.com/earful12. Was that the last question?
I have one more.
Okay, let's do it.
This one is a bit more of a personal one. What is the most unique thing he finds about you? About me?
You, Lina?
Yes.
The most unique thing.
That one. Interesting.
Could be the weird snore. No, I don't know.
That's a hard question.
I don't know. I think...
Most unique?
That's tough.
My fingerprint?
It's not tough. I know all the things I like about you, but what's most unique? I don't know. I've said before that I think you got a really good mix of interesting and interested with everyone you meet.
Wow, that is very nice.
Yeah, a lot of people can do one or the other, but you got a really good balance.
Oh, shucks. I put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to the book.
Back to the book, yeah, that's not neither here or there. You wrote that question.
What? No, what?
I want to talk a little bit about this Kickstarter thing and how it's going to work. If you've listened this far, I take it you're interested in this idea of the book, which warms the cold cockles of my heart. But let me explain how it's going to work. I'm going to launch, there's a website called Kickstarter. Believe it or not, I was at a French party the other day. All French people, really interesting people. I meet this one dude who invented Kickstarter. Unbelievable. An American guy.
The actual founder.
Yeah, the founder of Kickstarter. And Perry, if you're listening.
Yeah.
And we got chatting and he sort of helped me out, but I was ready to launch, so he pointed me in a good direction. The way this company works is you put a goal for how much you need or want in some cases, I suppose. And if your crowd can come together to raise that amount of money, then the project happens, right? So if that project doesn't get funded, like there are some people with mega ambitious, I've been clicking around on the different pages,
right, yeah.
People who want to make a board game and they need 100,000 euros, right? Fortunately, a book doesn't cost that much. But the idea is if we get to this goal, then I'll put that money, literally all of that money, into making this book, this initial print run. If no one supports it, I'll take it as a very clear sign that no one's interested. But the feedback on Facebook and Instagram has been pretty good so far. Yeah. Largely thanks to, I think, your cover as well.
No.
You guys should see this cover.
Never judge a book by its cover.
Well, this time you can, I think. But anyway, so I've got this goal. The books are going to cost what a book costs. I think it's 20 euros that I've put. But there are other tiers. Like you can sign up to get things like, your name in the book, at the back of the book in the acknowledgement sections and things like that. Or you can get the ebook or the audio book.
The audio experience.
Yeah, I'm calling it an audio experience. But anyway, firstly, that Kickstarter is going to launch on Wednesday night. I'm going to say this very clearly now. At 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday night, the 11th of December, I'm going to press live stream on YouTube. There's a link already there. You'll find it on my YouTube channel. I've sent it out in emails. You'll find it. There, I'm going to read the first couple of pages of the book, and it's a pretty good couple of pages. I think you guys will like it. At the same time, I'm going to open the floodgates. It means that you can pre-order the book or tell your friends to or whatever. And then within a month, I think we'll figure out the next process. And hopefully the next step of the process is getting these publishers to make the book. Now, 7:30 p.m. in Paris. I've written it down here. That's 1:30 p.m. in New York, 10:30 a.m. in LA, 6:30 p.m. in London, 5:30 in the morning in Sydney. I think there are some people in Australia who might get up for it.
Yeah.
I hope you guys do. Otherwise, you'll watch the replay. It'll be there on the internet. And 7:30 in the morning for the Fiji listeners. I know
Fiji crowd.
I know there are at least two. And then there'll be a little bit of a party. Those who I've told about the party, you're invited. Come along. You don't need any more information than I've given you. But I think, was that what I wanted to say? Kickstarter. Yep. Anything I've missed?
I want to say no.
Cool.
You talked about the ebook.
Oh yeah, the audiobook.
The
The ebook will be the cheapest one to buy. If you're strapped for cash but you want to support it, that's probably the best way to do it. Read it on your Kindle or whatever. But I think the paperback will be one of the best ways to read it. But maybe the best way is the audio experience. Because as you guys know, I already know how to make a podcast. So I'm thinking to make my goal for this is, and I'm only going to start this if we reach the goal, is to make an audio book that's like an experience. So if there's a scene in a cafe, for example, I'll go down to the cafe beforehand, record what they call ambient noise, so that I'll say.
So you really feel like you're there.
Exactly, and I've done that on the episodes before, so I think you guys will know what I'm talking about. But it'll be like, I walked into the cafe and sat down. It sounds like a film noir kind of thing. I walked into the cafe and sat down.
Pulled out a gun.
I'll put on the music, and it'll be, you hear the espresso machine in the background, and then I'll continue. And I'm going to get some of the main characters, like Lina and like some of the French friends I have, to read their lines, which I think will be really fun.
I cannot act to save my life. This is going to be very interesting.
That's why I think it'll be fun. So we'll read out the lines. It'll be like you saying something. She said, like that kind of thing. And that'll be and music. I'm going to get original music. That'll be really cool. But that's another element of it. So I'm really excited. It's going to take ages to do. So consider chipping in for this Kickstarter on Wednesday night, because it'll make it happen. Yeah. And I'll release it as an audiobook rather than a podcast here, because let's face it, it's not going to be free to make that. I'm going to get some original music.
No, it's going to take a long time.
I know, it's going to take long, but I don't care. I'm going to get all the people
very exciting.
I think that'll do. You know what I haven't said? The book is called Paris on Air. If you want to get a look at the front cover, it's on Instagram and Facebook, and even the YouTube thumbnail right now, done by Lina. Picture, it's a sort of a sketch of me with a microphone and the Eiffel Tower and the red scooters in the background. People have been seeing all the details. But that's it. I really sincerely hope that you guys will buy a copy. If you've enjoyed this podcast over the past, what has it been, 2 years? Over 2 years?
It's been that long now.
If you're one of the 750,000 downloads this show has got and you've enjoyed it, this is the time to consider.
It's Christmas.
This is the time to consider making your voice heard too. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we go on Wednesday night. But thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you, Lina, for coming into the studio.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm going to play a little jingle music and then talk about French today. Do you want to hang around for that?
Well, yes, sure. It's raining outside.
Wahoo! Yes. So you might have heard I said wahoo. There, Lina.
Wahoo!
Yeah, that's because one of my favorite things, making a gentle segue into language right now, is because the way that French people write, like whoa or wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's WHAOU.
Wow.
Yeah. WHAOU.
Yeah.
And every time I see it, because people commented on my Instagram and stuff sometimes. WHAOUUUUU, for example. And I assume you pronounce it whoa.
Whoa.
But whenever I read it, I go whoa.
Wahoo.
Yeah. So for example, Greg, who was on the show, he always writes it in the comments on Instagram. I got an email from Delphine, a regular listener. In fact, I'm going to read out a letter before we get to French today. She said, hi, Olivier. She's French, so she's made recent sign up on Patreon. She was at the event.
I remember her.
She's also going to be at the event on Wednesday night.
Exciting.
In fact, I'm certain she'll be listening, because this is what the email says. I'm very happy to hear about your book. I'll be following. I'll be at the launch. I have mixed feelings to let you know that last week I finished listening to all of your podcast episodes. I say mixed feelings because I'm happy now that I'm fully up to date, but sad at the same time because now I know I have to wait for new episodes.
Oh.
Yeah, there's probably a word for that.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like, it's not FOMO, but
yeah,
it's like Momo or something.
Fear of nothing to listen to.
Yeah, Fontal. Yeah, we've got Fontal.
She said it was great to discover all the expatriates. It's kind of a long email, so I'll skip ahead because I asked her in response. I was like, thanks. And this is why I always ask someone who tells me to listen to all the episodes because what an undertaking that is.
That is a lot of hours.
That is hours and hours.
How many hours?
Well, think about it. It's about 100-ish episodes. Maybe it's probably more by now.
Yeah.
It's probably 150 times 30 minutes. So there's 75 hours or something like that.
Amazing.
So I asked her the ultimate question, what was your favorite episode? She responded, "Wow." I should have expected this, but I'm so bad at this game. She said the last one about Notre Dame was very touching.
I really like that one too.
Yeah. But there you go. So, wow to you, Delphine.
Wow.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoy hearing your name in the podcast too. I'm sure you will. But French today, I'm not going to do any more Gmail. That one just popped into my head because of the wow thing. Wow. Thanks for all your lovely comments, everyone, and Delphine as well. But French today, we've already gone over the time, so we're going to have to talk this through together.
That went quickly.
French today, so first things first, if you want to learn French, you want to improve your French, or you just want to take those first plunges at beginner level, there's two ways you can go about it as far as I'm concerned. You can go and sit in a class and get them to teach you the most boring French you'll ever learn. I've done that before. Hated it.
It's not for me.
Hated it. It's in the book.
Yeah.
I wrote about it in the book.
It's awful.
They tease me. The teacher teased me, and I'm not even kidding.
That's just the worst.
Anyway.
Like learning by intimidation.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
how
it?
French kids learn a lot, I think,
Crazy.
as well. Anyway, there's, who knows, that's a different topic. But there's two, as far as I'm concerned, there's two ways. You do that, or you get an audiobook like Camille's, where you've got a friendly voice walking you through modern French and the kind of French that you're going to learn.
That you actually use.
That you need.
Yeah.
So things like the early, I was going to say the early bird stuff, but the early levels, early audiobooks are the things you'd need if you want to come here and order a coffee and beyond, make a friend.
Yeah.
And you learn by her method, which is she'll read it out, you repeat. You guys by now know who she is. She's been on the show a bunch of times and will be on again soon, Camille from French Today. But then they have like study guides and glossary and words to learn and repeat. And gradually you build up through all the audiobooks until you get to the end and you're fluent. But it's I wouldn't say this unless I truly believed it. It's a really good way to learn French. And I think personally for me, hearing things audio, if you guys like podcasts, you must already like audiobooks and audio learning. It's something for you. And the additional bonus is if you go to frenchtoday.com/earful12, that's 12, they take a further 10% discount off. So if you time it right, like right now, I think there's 20% off everything. That means you'll get 20% off plus a further 10% off.
Wahoo!
Wahoo is exactly right. And Camille is a good friend of mine. I don't know about with all the transport strikes and everything, but she said she'd be at the book launch too. She'll be coming down from Brittany.
Crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed this strike sort of sorts itself out. If not, I guess I'll see you the next opportunity.
Yeah.
But go and check it out. It's a small business in France. frenchtoday.com/earful12. Learn French and have fun while doing it. It'll leave you saying wahoo, if not, maybe spelling it. But thanks French Today for sponsoring this show. Appreciate it. Beaucoup, I could say. French word there. See?
Nice one.
But and expect an episode from Camille in the not too distant future. Anything to add, Lina?
Ooh, you put me on the spot there. Well, I think you said it all perfectly.
I think I can give you a shout out as well. If you guys have never heard from her before, you know what I'm going to do? You know what Lina does? She does, go and find her on Instagram, @Parisian Postcards. She's been doing watercolor paintings, and they're beautiful. I say thank you. You've been on the show. I'll give you a shout out.
Well, thank you.
And there's been a huge interest in them. Like a huge interest. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I actually said that I would do a little collection to sell before Christmas, around 15-20 or so. But I have gotten quite a lot of commissions, so I don't really have time.
People sending in, can you draw my view from the window?
Yeah.
Because the first one you did was our view from the window.
It was.
You know what we need to do? The question before about where we should be in 5 years, we should have a gallery with your paintings, a little podcast studio in the back.
Yes.
And
I love it.
And a coffee shop.
Love it.
There's the answer.
That's it.
People come in, have a coffee.
The Holy Trinity.
My book on a bookshelf.
Amazing.
Buy your artwork.
Yes.
Hang on, who's out the back? Oh, it's Oliver doing an interview. There you go. There's something to think about.
Perfect. It sounds great.
We'll wind up from there. Remember, everybody, Wednesday night Paris time, watch that YouTube video. The link is already there. Kickstart, help me make this book. If not, if you're just interested in learning French, frenchtoday.com/earful12. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir. À la prochaine.
Woo!